It's life care. Visit coveredca.com to find free, local, in-person help or enroll online. Enroll by January 31st to avoid the IRS tax penalty.
Kcaa.
This is Empire Talks Back. Give me a call, 888-909-1050. Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. Empire Talks Back is sponsored by Covered California. Only 7 days left until open enrollment ends. Find which health plan is best for you at coveredca.com. That's Covered California, your place for secure information about your health care plans. Brought to you also by West Side Story newspaper, the soul of the empire, and the Improve Association for referrals that are real. Once again, folks, give me a call, 888-909-1050. We're going to talk a little bit about Covered California. We're concerned about the environmental issues, both here in California at Porter Ranch, and we're going to talk a little bit about the water problem in Flint, Michigan. Hey, and then there's a response to the primaries, you know, the Trump-Palin deal, the Clinton-Sanders deal. You've got to be on one side of those things or another. It's not all about the Super Bowl. I'm sure you're going to have some concerns about those things. And what about the White Academy Awards? Does that disturb you? Is that something you're concerned about? Tell you what, give me that call, 888-909-1050. And, you know, if you are sitting around the house coughing and sneezing and affecting your loved ones, you may need to go see a doctor. And if you haven't been to see a doctor, maybe it's because you think you don't have a health plan. But if you're in California, you can get one. Covered California will take care of that for you. And I've got a person that we're going to talk to in a few minutes, Mr. Dana Howard, who spoke with us a couple of weeks ago and got us all pumped up about how important it is to get involved with Covered California. And, you know, the issue is now you've only got 7 days left to get signed up for that. So we want to give ourselves an opportunity to talk back with Dana Howard. He's been with Covered California since 2013. He's got a personal commitment to play a part in the implementing of the organization's mission, his historic mission to bring access to quality, affordable health care here in California. And he's a media person. He's a journalist. He has been involved with TV stations there in Sacramento. He's received awards, national awards. He's really a great guy and easy to talk to. Dana, are you there this morning?
Good morning, Wallace. How are you doing today?
Good deal, Dana. Just sitting here concerned about my folks back east and all that snow, and hoping that nobody gets in the way of the Carolina team on their way to the Super Bowl. I didn't mean to bring the Super Bowl up at this time, not knowing who
it's hard to avoid today.
Not knowing who your favorite team is and any of that stuff, so I don't want to get
No, my team's not in the bowl, unfortunately.
Oh, man, you got to pick a team. It doesn't matter if you were, nothing like jumping on the bus. This is what we're saying. The same thing about Covered California. A lot of people didn't join the team early, but, they've got 7 days left to pick a side, and hopefully they'll get on the side that's beneficial to them, and that will be to sign up for Covered California. Dana, a lot of people still don't understand what Covered California is. Could you give us a little description of what Covered California is and the purpose and why people should be involved?
Oh, certainly. It's very simple. Covered California is Obamacare, is the Affordable Care Act. It's all the same thing. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, Covered California. Covered California is Obamacare for California. And so this state was the first to implement the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. And since 2012, we have taken off and tried to make sure that we get as many people access to really quality and affordable health care as we possibly can.
Now, quality and affordable, that suggests that there's some that are not quality and that are not affordable. And, of course, that's probably why so many people were not insured. How successful has that program been in terms of signing people up that were not signed up?
Yeah, it has been successful in that we have enrolled more than 2 million people since of Cover California. We currently have well over 1 million, coming up on 1.5 million folks who are currently enrolled in a health plan participating through Cover California. So folks, especially in the initial year, were in line, realized that this is something good for them, and it is. I mean, this is such a huge game change from where we were before. Gone are the days when the healthcare or health insurance companies could deny you because you had some kind of an illness previous or going on.
Okay.
Currently, I mean, the way the Affordable Care Act is, you can have a heart attack today and be insured tomorrow, because the heart attack does not play a role in whether you are insured nor how much your insurance is going to cost.
You know,
so it is such a big difference. Now, the only thing that affects what your price would be is where you live and how old you are. And the only reason you could be denied coverage is if you are incarcerated or you are not lawfully present here in California.
Or if there's not an open enrollment period, right?
Well, even if there is not an open enrollment period, there is what is called special enrollment.
Okay.
So that if you have a life-changing event, such as you lose your job, you get divorced, and the spouse was carrying the insurance, and you lose your job that was providing the insurance, or your employer no longer provides health insurance for you, or you have a baby, you move a long distance. Those are all items and situations that would allow you to enroll after the open enrollment period closes. Now, if you don't have any of those things happen, January 31st is the deadline for you to get enrolled. If you don't enroll by January 31st, you're not going to have insurance for all of 2016, unless one of those life-changing events happens to you and you can apply that way. But other than that, you don't have a baby, you don't get divorced, you don't lose your job, you don't move a long way away out of your area, you're not going to be able to get health insurance for 2016. And that would leave you vulnerable to a penalty, which is something you don't want to take a chance on.
Right. Now, how much is that penalty? How much can that cost you?
The penalty starts at nearly $700 per adult and almost $350 per child in your household.
Now that's
so you have a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children, you're looking at more than $2,000 in penalty. Meanwhile, if you do sign up, it is likely that you will be able to get thousands of dollars in financial assistance.
Right.
You can get immediately to lower your monthly premiums.
So
it comes in the form of an upfront tax credit.
So you can get some help in paying for your insurance if you can't afford it. But if you wait around and get the penalty, I'm sure there's no supplemental aid in helping to pay for the penalty, is there?
No, there's
That's
nothing
right.
to help you pay for the penalty.
Sure.
You're dead on there. There's nothing that's going to ease that penalty for you. So you'll be paying that, and you still won't have health insurance, and you will have left thousands of dollars of tax credits on the table, giving that back to the federal government. It doesn't make sense. It does not add up.
No, that doesn't add up at all. I mean, I love the government. I love the United States, but I don't want to pay extra if I can avoid it.
It's not just paying extra. You pay the tax penalty and you leave money on the table. 90% of the people who are enrolled through plans to Cover California are receiving that upfront tax credit, that subsidy, to help lower their monthly premium. And to just walk away from that, it doesn't make sense. If nothing else, you need to go this week to find an insurance agent or an enrollment counselor in your area who can get you signed up and figure out how much of that tax credit you are eligible for, so that you can get real clarity around what your costs are going to be. People are just amazed when they come out from on the other side of the application. They realize I could have had this, and it's such a game changer for people.
Dana, there's a commercial on TV. And it looks like we need to take a short break. Let's take a short break and come back. And I want to ask you about this commercial on TV that shows a young man falling off. I guess it shows him falling off. It shows the ambulance coming to a young man who's fallen off a bicycle. I want to talk to you about, did the guy sign up before he fell, or if he waited till after he fell? Is that, a life-changing incident? We'll be right back, taking a short break. I'm talking with Mr. Dana Howard. He is the Covered California Communications representative for us today. He's actually the Deputy Director of Communications for Covered California, and he's taking the time to help explain a few things for us today, because you've only got 7 days left to sign up for Covered California, and we don't want you to be riding a bicycle, fall down, and not have insurance or whatever else might occur to you. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We'll be right back.
Imagine that you're among the 4 out of 5 people who received help paying for quality health coverage through Covered California at the lowest possible cost. Imagine seeing a doctor for everyday aches and pains, unexpected emergencies, and preventative care. Imagine receiving help finding a health plan that's absolutely right for you and your family. Imagine not having to imagine.
Covered California. It's more than just health care. It's life care. Visit CoveredCA.com to find free, local, in-person help, or enroll online by December 15th to have coverage by January 1st.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Kcaa is your CNBC news affiliate. We're the station that gets down to business.
This is Empire Talks Back, and we get down. The only reason to get down is to get up, right? That's what we do. We're up for the issue. We're up for the conversation. We're speaking with Mr. Dana Howard from Covered California. We're reminding people that there's 7 days left for you to sign up for Covered California. And many of our young people feel so powerful and strong that they think that, nothing's going to ever happen to me. That's why I thought this commercial, TV commercial, was so on point. It shows an ambulance rolling down the street and curbing in traffic and pulls up and stops to pick up a young man and he was a young man, obviously, who had had an accident on his bicycle. That does a couple of things. It shows that, you're not invulnerable. If you're out riding bicycles, you're out doing some of the great things that California affords young people to do, you can get hurt. And if you are so confident that you are not going to ever get hurt, that you don't have health insurance, I'm wondering what this scenario really boils down to. If you haven't signed up during the enrollment period, we realize there's some important things that could occur to you that would make you eligible for signing up under special conditions. Mr. Howard, is falling off your bike and, cracking your crown a life-changing incident like that? Or, if the guy just sprained his ankle, we don't know the level of pain in this guy's accident. Was if he sprained his ankle, would he be able to sign up? Is that special enough, or would he have had to break his ankle or maybe get a concussion? Or, what's special in that kind of sense that would allow a person who's missed the enrollment periods to actually be able to sign up for insurance despite that?
Well, there's nothing special about falling down, getting in an accident, breaking your leg, having a heart attack, being
you said
diagnosed with cancer. There's nothing special about that was going to allow you to enroll after the open enrollment period. That's why it's insurance. It's kind of like saying with your car insurance, can I just drive down the road and not have it, and then get into an accident, and then say, well, I need some insurance. Well, let me go get that now. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, so
it's insurance.
Life-changing incidents then don't fall into that category.
Well, those kind of life-changing incidents don't. It is if you move far away, if you get divorced and your spouse was providing you the insurance, if you lose your job that was providing you the insurance, those are life-changing events. Getting into an accident, injuring yourself, being diagnosed with an illness, having an emergent illness, that is not going to qualify you for having insurance. No more than if you are operating a vehicle without any insurance, that you suddenly get into an accident, you back into somebody, your car gets stolen. You are not going to be able to say, oh, I had a life-changing event here. I need to get some car insurance now.
Right. You better change your life and sign up now.
Yeah.
Like we say, you've got 7 days left. The 31st of January is the last day. Dana, how can they get more information if for some reason this conversation has fired them up and we haven't answered every question, but they do want to find out more? What can they do?
Well, they need to go to coveredca.com. That's our website. It's coveredca.com. And you can click on Find Local Help. Find Local Help to enroll. That's the button to click on. It's a big green button that's right there. And you will be able to enter your zip code and come up with a list of places where you can enroll. I mean, in Riverside area in San Bernardino, for instance, you have the Riverside County Black Chamber of Commerce, where you can go enroll right over there on Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You have in the Fontana area along Foothill Boulevard in Sierra, there are a cluster of places where you can enroll there as well. You just put in your zip code, and you can get enrollers and agents who you can just call to say, I need to enroll over the phone. I want to come down there and meet you in person.
So they can do much of this
with somebody. It's your choice. You can find somebody to enroll simply by going to coveredca.com and clicking on Find Local Help to enroll.
And they can do it over the phone.
They can do it over the phone as well.
Is there a phone number they can call in case my videographer came in this morning and said my computer crashed? So those things occur. Is it possible for people to reach someone for sign up over the phone?
Most certainly. And you can call our 800 number, 800-300-1506. It's 800-300-1506.
Man, I can remember that with my memory. 800-300-1506.
Mm-hmm. And I would do it now. Mm-hmm. Don't wait until the 31st to do it. Do it now so you're not caught in the swell of folks who are trying to enroll at the very last minute. And it is really worth the time to get somebody on the phone now, or go down and meet them in person at one of the locations I just mentioned to you, or find another one on coveredca.com, because you want somebody to help you walk through the process and find out which of the plans is best suited for you, your budget, and your lifestyle. I mean, folks who are, I just ran some numbers just to see what the rates are looking like in San Bernardino County, because I can't remember all the counties in the state. But if you take like a 27-year-old who's making $25,000 a year of adjusted gross income, that's not how much money, that's not their salary, that's how much they actually will be about paying taxes on. And so for that kind of money, a person can get a plan for $32 a month. That's $32 a month.
That's amazing. That's
more than half of the folks in Covered California are paying less than $100. 1 out of 3 pay less than $50. I mean, it's really something affordable, and it's not something that is cheap. We don't tell you. We don't try to pretend and tell you that health insurance is now cheap. It's not.
No.
But we do bring it within reach, because if we were to tell you that the plan was going to cost that person $200 a month, well then, yeah, they would say that's really too much money. That's almost a car note for me. But at $32, I would suggest that if you regularly go and visit a coffee store,
right,
you're spending that much just in coffee a month.
And you know what they say about how easy it is to fall off a bicycle.
It really is.
Yeah, so it's much cheaper to go on and get the insurance and go out and have your fun and live your wonderful lifestyle, and know that if you do have a physical emergency or accident, that you're covered. That takes a lot of pressure off your friends, relatives, your mother, your father, your other loved ones. It's something we need to do. Dana, since next week is the last day, is it possible for you to come back and let's fire some people up and see if we can create some reason for folks to really get out there and make that last minute push if indeed they haven't signed up?
I will be here. In fact, I'll be in Los Angeles, in the Southern California area on Sunday, to try to do exactly that, making sure that everyone knows this is the last day. Right. And it is so important. You just don't want to leave that money on the table. Typically, households are getting $5,000, more than $5,000, really, to help lower their monthly premium. I mean, that's a lot of money to say, well, you know what, I think I'll just pay the penalty, and I don't really feel like.
No, I don't think anybody's saying, oh, I'll just pay the penalty. This is none of my listeners are saying, I'll just pay the penalty, because my listeners know that if they've got that kind of money, they could just send it to me. And allow me to help change the world, make it a better place. Dana, we appreciate the time you're spending with us, but more importantly, we appreciate the impact that Covered California allows us to have, and that you're speaking for it. Next week, we want to be sure that we get everybody signed up that is supposed to get signed up. How many people are we talking about? How many folks out there are still slacking as far as you can tell?
Well, I wouldn't call it slacking.
Okay, you didn't.
You know that
you didn't, and I don't want to make it sound like you did, but
that around 400,000 or 500,000 folks are still without coverage who haven't signed up right now. I mean, we went in knowing that there are about 750,000. We've enrolled almost 300,000 now.
Okay.
In this enrollment period, and we still got more than that left to go. So we want to make sure we get those people in. And one of the things I want to make sure that your audience and everyone out there understands is that when you go through Cover California, your information is confidential. There is no paper trail. We're not giving information over to any immigration services for people who are concerned about they live in a household, their family has mixed immigration status. If you have warrants out for you, we're not going to turn your information over to attorneys general or to district attorneys or the police department. If you're back on child support, we're not turning your information over to folks. That's not going to happen. Your information with us is confidential and is not used for enforcement.
So we could even have some Laker haters sign up, and you wouldn't turn them in either.
Yeah, we wouldn't turn them in either.
My goodness.
We might have to pray for them, but we wouldn't turn them in.
Dane, I appreciate you very much. We look forward to talking to you next week, and let's hope that everybody listening that is not signed up for health care will next week be able to say, nah, I'm signed up. This last-minute emergency is not for me. So looking forward to that. Dana Howard, you Covered California. We appreciate you and look forward to seeing you next week.
Wallace, thank you.
My pleasure. Dana Howard, he didn't want to call anybody a slacker that hasn't signed up, but I'm going to tell you, if you haven't got health insurance and you've got the opportunity to pay the little bit of money that it takes to get health insurance, get involved, make a phone call. I think he said the number is 800-300-1506. That'll give you access to information and people who can give you information, even actually help you sign up over the phone. Is Mr. Evans on the line before we go into the break? Mr. Evans.
I'm here.
Okay, very good. I wanted to double check with you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, there's a couple of things we may want to talk about. I'm looking at the environmental impact of the gas there at Porter Ranch. I'm concerned about the water in Flint, Michigan. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the potential Academy Awards boycott or mancot or whatever that may be. And, of course, we've got Sarah and Don, and we've got Hillary and what is Bernie?
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Bernie Sanders. So we got all of that to talk about. You line yourself up a target, and when we come back off this break, we're going to get an idea of what's going on in the mind of the great Leonard Evans, my friend. We'll be right back. This is Empire Talks Back. Wallace Allen, your host, waiting for you. Hey, and if you want to give us a call, 888-909-1050.
The euphonious appellation. I appreciate that.
Very good. And the other aspect that we've got a new way that you can listen to us or see us. You can go straight to www.theempiretalksback.com and you'll catch up with the live radio cast. And of course, you can listen to us on your phone straight ahead by calling 832-999-1050. Anyway, glad you're listening. If you want to call us, do that. 888-909-1050. We'll be right back.
Did you know Cover California can help you find a low-cost quality health care plan that's absolutely right for you and your family? Did you know there's coverage for unexpected emergencies and everyday aches and pains? Did you know free preventative care like blood pressure and cholesterol screenings are also provided to stop small problems from getting bigger? Well, now you know.
Covered California. It's more than just health care. It's life care. Visit CoveredCA.com to find free, local, in-person help or enroll online by December 15th to have coverage by January 1st.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Empire Talks Back every Sunday, but then you can talk to us every day. All you have to do is pick up your podcast at theempiretalksback.com, and you can listen to the archives. You can do a 3-week intense listening affair with Empire Talks Back if you are that lonely. I'm just kidding. I would hope that you'd like to hear us, but that's a lot of listening. It's not quite like eating popcorn, It's a lot more involved. We had a great conversation with Dana Howard about Covered California. We've got some interesting things that can be talked about. Some of them are very serious. Some of them would like to be very serious, and the impact of their actualization can be very serious. I'm talking about politics now. Whether we're talking about the Republicans or the Democrats, we still end up talking about the future of America. And that is what can be of concern to many people as they discuss the potential winners or losers if certain people win or if certain people lose. Mr. Evans. Is Mr. Evans?
Well, my position on politics is that the only opinion that matters is the voters, and we will see that in November. Everything prior to that is just speculation and so much talk. However, I would like to point out that what Bernie Sanders would like to do concerning health care, it's nice to want these things, but the reality is you're facing a Republican-controlled legislature, and as difficult as it was for President Obama to perform the miracle of the Affordable Care Act, the idea that you're suddenly going to turn everything on its head and cut the private insurers out of the healthcare business in this atmosphere is fantasy. It ain't never going to happen. So Mrs. Clinton's approach to this makes more sense in that she wants to keep the Affordable Care Act and do what may be possible to improve it. That is a more practical approach. But again, this is just my opinion about who will likely prevail, buried in all of that. And we'll let the voters decide. So all this crap you hear on TV right now, says more about the audience than it does about the candidate. So we'll see what happens there. Now, the Academy Awards, if I could switch to that subject for a moment.
All right.
Personally, I'm tired of the Negroes of America telling white people what to do. I think it's gone way too far. You want to have your own Academy Awards and create your own film industry. Put your money on the line. Risk your fortune and take a chance. Create your own industry. And then you can do what you want to. Otherwise, you just have to wait. Now, there have been enough people who've been nominated and won Academy Awards. Jamie Foxx for Ray, for example. That to say, these people are racist and prejudiced. Yeah, put a sock in it. I've heard enough of that crap.
Well,
and the same thing with Black Lives Matter, telling white people what to do. They're sick of hearing it, and they're not listening anymore. What their attitude is you want something, do something yourself. Go out and use this energy and effort to accomplish things for yourself. Change your own behavior. That will get you better results than telling white people what to do.
Now, do white people discuss this amongst themselves, or do they discuss it with black folk? Because I haven't really heard any of them say that. Any of those things, especially, I did hear, let's go back to the Academy Awards. There's certainly people who have expressed that. I think I heard one lady say, well, maybe the black actors just weren't good enough, which is certainly a possibility.
Well, how about that? Isn't that an interesting thing? Maybe nobody has earned an Academy Award. Isn't that a possibility?
Well, I think,
in the conversation that gets out there, you don't hear that. Well, except from that one lady, and of course they jumped all over her.
Well, I think it's because they have several award sessions that they usually that lead up to the Academy Awards, and traditionally those award winners in those pre-Academy award circumstances are at least named, if not the winners of the Academy Awards. And there were 3 movies in particular, black movies, or movies that had black characters in them, that were held out by these other organizations, the Globes, etc., that said these were great,
Globes,
great movies. So we once again didn't have so much black people arguing about it until white people argued about it, because the white people were the ones who voted for it in the Golden Globes and brought these movies up and mentioned them as great. So there's and then we look at another circumstance. At this point, 12% of the population is black, and 12% of the moviegoers tend to be black. 37% of, 17% of 23% of the 17% of the population is Hispanic, and 32% of the moviegoers are Hispanic. So if we look and join those two things together, you got your 32% and your 12%. That's what, 44%? 44% of the people that go to the movies are of a brown or black skin color. That and I mix those two together because the census does so also. So as we look at that and we look at who spends the money for the movies, one could say that, well, maybe black and Hispanics don't mind looking at movies that don't have people in them that look like them. Because if those people were demanding that movies be consistent with their race, they wouldn't have that many to choose from what we're saying here. So it's one of those issues of talking about boycotting something that, if you're not there, how can you boycott it? If you're not expected to go, how could you boycott it? I kind of like what Ice Cube said. He said, well, I'm more interested in ticket stubs than movie snubs. So you can snub my movie, but as long as I'm selling tickets and getting the stubs and the money, that's why I'm really in it. Maybe that's the issue, but then your peers and how your peers feel about you is important. So that question is still out there. I don't know the answer. I do remember my response back in 1968, 67, when we were discussing the potential of a boycott for the Olympics, and that was at a time when no one black had yet qualified to participate in the Olympics. And I thought it was a little premature to discuss having a boycott.
What year was that?
1968. This is the year when Lee
So we
Evans
just
set the world
dismissed
records,
Jesse Owens
and Tommy Smith
and Ralph Metcalf and all the other people from the past. Just forget about them.
Well, no. That wasn't it. They were saying that, well, Leonard, you've seen the poster of John Smith and Tommy Smith and John Carlos, when in Mexico. As a matter of fact, during that time, I think you were proud of the boycott. There wasn't the boycott, but it was the protest that they made as the result of getting on the stand and winning. To boycott something, it means you're not there, so nobody can see that you're not there. You can boycott food, but boycotting an event, you can boycott buying something, but boycotting an event seems to be a little hard to do unless you've been invited and you're scheduled to participate, and then you decide not to go and you make noise about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue is a sound issue in terms of who's making movies. Arguing about who should get the money for the movies, arguing about who should get the stardom. That's all part of the publicity. What we did see with the Academy Award circumstances, they did do something to change the people who vote for these awards. So the Academy itself must have felt some internal pressure as well as the outside pressure. They've made changes that will take effect next year.
Now they want to change the membership and who's a member.
Well,
because it is the members of the Academy that do the voting.
Right, and they say they've got some members that not even in the business anymore, and so they would like to keep keep the membership relevant. Whatever that means, I'm not sure, but I think it's going to mean...
Well, just give everybody an award, a participation award. If you're in the movie industry, you get an Academy Award, and then it becomes meaningless.
Well, I don't think anybody's talking about a participation award, Mr. Evans.
Well, that's where it's headed, because of all this protest. If you didn't earn an award, tough. Maybe it takes time. There have been so many white actors over the decades that didn't get an Academy Award for their entire career, and they had amazing work. They were in movies that were awarded Academy Awards, and so what do they get? An Academy Award is appreciation after 50 years in the movies. But no, that's not what we want to do. And in terms of black, like you've heard me say before, you want to call a group black, then find black members in that group. I don't mean brown and dark brown and mixed and everything, but people that are black. You can't find enough blue blacks in this country to call a group black. I'd rather be called the N-word than black. I haven't had any tranquilizers this morning, so I'm on a roll. I got a lot of things to say about that.
Well, one of the great things about America is you can say pretty much what you want. Doesn't make it right or wrong.
Call me colored, call me Negro, but don't call me black. Call me a nigger. I prefer that.
Well, there are some people that are going to say that's exactly what you're acting like, but then there's other people that say, call me that. What is the act?
But don't call me black.
Well, when you look at the world, and right now, I think you're probably agreeing with the census.
And I have much to say about how I look as you did, and everybody else did nothing.
The idea that the census has agreed with you, that says, if you don't want to be called black, you don't have to be. And even if you are black, you can call yourself something else, because we just as soon do whatever we can do to diffuse the real issue of white supremacy. Because white supremacy, if we just go with black and white, it becomes pretty obvious that there is a white supremacy issue. But if we go with white and black and brown and yellow and red, I even heard people called Aborigines this morning. As we described the shooting, and those are all code names, different names, but it boils back down to either Leonard Evans, you're either black or you're white, Now, I'll take you back to Mississippi in 1952 and show you an example of what that really means. You can sit here on TV, sit and watch TV now and look at people and say, wow, are they black or are they white? And a lot of people do that because it's been a very important issue in America as to whether you are black or white, to access opportunity, to even access a water fountain. So that has been very important, in the fact that some
that
of us
brings up a good point.
Some of
We
us
need to
have
take
short
advantage
memories.
of the changes that have occurred, and quit complaining so much.
Leonard, the complaint is something that you as an individual can deal with, but when we look at the institutional effects and the effects on groups, not just on individuals, we have to say that there's something more wrong than there
That's
is
right.
than
It's
there
called
is right.
parenting. I was fortunate that my parents decided to take responsibility to be parents. They didn't just make a baby.
Well, now, Leonard,
and there's people just making babies and not taking on the responsibility of being a parent.
If I didn't have to pay for this segment, I'd skip the break.
I couldn't take it, man. I shouted out that he wouldn't be in that coffin if he had parents.
Well, the reason he doesn't have parents,
and accepted the responsibility.
There's a reason.
Him in life.
There's a reason that he doesn't have parents, Leonard. There's a reason that he doesn't have parents. And we'll get into that, and we'll talk about why isn't the black man in the house in many of these families across the nation. Really, because the white institution said, you can't have it. If we're not giving you a job.
Welfare check, and you can't
well, then not only did you not get the welfare check, the reason you need the welfare check is because I'm not giving your black ass a job. We'll be right back after this break.
You know that IRS tax penalty you get if you don't have health insurance? Well, this year, it's going up. By a lot. For some, the penalty itself will cost more than health insurance, which is why now's the time to enroll for health coverage through Covered California. We'll help you find the right plan at the right price and avoid that IRS tax penalty. And that's money well spent. Covered California. It's more than just health care. It's life care. Enroll by January 31st to avoid the IRS tax penalty.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
E-Digits. Lock them in for more information, recreation, and guaranteed fun. Kcaa.
Empire Talks back. I'm Wallace Allen on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. We're speaking with our friend, Mr. Leonard Evans. He's taking the position that there's, probably a little too much concern from black folks about being black, and that we need to take charge of ourselves a little bit more and not
That's a separate issue altogether.
attempt to worry about whether white people give us awards for participating in the games that they're playing. Color struck. But Mr.
Color struck. Blacks are more involved in color than white people are.
Well, of course they are. White people haven't been hung or skinned alive because of the color of their skin. So black people have.
Black Africa now. And
no. This got nothing. This has got nothing.
The black Africans who were Islamists, Mohammedans, they were the ones that were in the slavery business, rounding up people, bringing them down to the beach and selling them to white people.
Leonard,
Leonard, going in there and getting them.
Hey, control the box a little bit.
Justified this, and you still find slavery today where Mohammedans are.
Joe. We lost Leonard. Get him to come back, but bring Leonard back up. Mr. Evans is
Turn my headphones, please.
Yeah, where's your headphone? Mr. Evans is ignoring or forgetting some of the important facts in race relations. These problems have existed long, long ago. Of course, now, we relate to Arabs selling Africans and Africans selling Africans to Europeans. The conduct that they sold them with and sold them into was not something that they were necessarily aware of. We look at the treatment of slaves, and we have to acknowledge that the treatment of slaves in the United States was much different from the treatment of slaves in the Caribbean and in South America. The family was left intact in South America and in the Caribbean. In America, the whole idea was to separate anybody who spoke the same language, the same dialect, and to not allow slaves to actually have families. There was no marriage involved. And so we get into a circumstance where, as Mr. Evans had suggested, that we have a problem with people working, with the lack of family life in the black community. We had a situation where, we'll go back and we'll talk about housing. The federal government, the HUD, created, when they laid out housing and federal monies for housing, they redlined. They made areas and neighborhoods for blacks and areas and neighborhoods for white people. The insurance, the real estate industry still reflects that term, redlining. That's where you don't go to loan money because black folks lived on the other side of the red line. That was a national posture. We don't have national institutional postures and policy where we can go back and see where white people were selected to be neglected. But we can go back and look at laws and policy in the United States and see where black people were selected to be neglected, were required to be fired, were set up to not be hired. And these problems still linger. Yeah, we have people that are doing well in the movie industry, millionaires, superstars, but they're in a business that they would like to, if there's a contest, if there's a selection process going on where you're chosen based on the merits of your conduct and the merits of your performance, and we've got black actors who are out there doing as good a job as white actors, then certainly those black actors want to be recognized. Now, there's people, like we say, maybe like Ice Cube, who says, wait a minute, I made, a couple $100 million on my movie. I'm satisfied. I don't care if you give me an award or not. And there's that posture. It may be proper. It may not be. But what we don't want to do, as far as I'm concerned, is ignore the possibilities or probability that people are unhappy enough to talk about their problem. I don't want them to get unhappy enough to throw rocks, shoot guns, and burn buildings down. But if we don't discuss the fact that you have a problem, you're going to lose the fact that you have the potential solution. So that's the issue there. So try to get Mr. Evans back on the line. We lost him there for a minute. And as we look at the other issues, we want to talk about the water in Flint, Michigan. We want to talk about the gas problem in Porter Ranch. The people in Porter Ranch actually moved in. Porter Ranch was built after the gas was set there. That gas pool, that pool of gas was there. People came in, developed the area around it. We have city planners who, for some reason, ignore floodplains, for some reason, ignore the danger of building houses around a gas plume. I think that Southern California Gas certainly should quickly, and much quicker than they're doing it, get that handled. But I can't forget that the people moved in. They didn't know about the problem, but the city planners did. They had to know. We have people move into floodplains, well, we can look at New Jersey right now. We can see where people want to live on the beach, but when you get those super storms, the beach is going to get washed away. Your house is going to get flooded, and you're going to end up asking for tax money to help come secure your place for living. All of these things occur, and when they occur, people want the government to step up. But then when it's time to talk about the government and supporting the government, and as we were just talking about Covered California, we were just talking about government paying supplements to allow people to be able to afford what they want. The government has no problem in many cases providing those supplements and complementary aspects of funding to organizations and groups that are white But then if we take and go back to looking at the non-white and the circumstances that they have, we have another issue. Let's look at Flint, Michigan. We have a situation there where the state authorities were laughing in people's faces when they were telling them that our water is testing and showing all of this lead in it. And the state would say, oh, no, not so. The state even looked at the records that were being brought to them to prove that the water was no good. And I think they may have had, say, 15 samples. They threw the 2 worst samples away so that the people would stay within the realm that they would call, that the state could call safe. Thanks to a
That's what you get when you put Republicans in charge.
No, that's not. That's what you get when you put people in charge who are afraid to take charge. People who are in charge, but they are just there to collect a check, as our friend Celeste used to say, as opposed to doing their job. There was a nurse who started to check the blood levels in the children, and upon checking the blood levels in the children, found that not only is there lead in the water, but there's lead in the children. And as far as that goes, we have to stop it.
People responsible ought to go to jail.
Well,
something like that.
But Flint, Michigan. We can say that the state officials were just trying to protect their job. Somebody's going to say, well, not only were they protecting their job, they also didn't give a hoot about the fact that those were little black babies, 9 out of 10, that were going to get filled with lead.
That's right.
And like one of the ladies was told, she said,
poor people that can't do anything about it.
Someone told one of the mothers that, hey, it's no big thing. Your son's only going to lose a couple of IQ points. You know, how do you approach and tell someone that? Mr. Evans, I'm saying that all of these things point back to why Black Lives Matter, why people are concerned about what goes on at the Academy Awards, because there is a history and tradition that says our government, not necessarily the people in the government,
that's right,
but
and
that our government
designed to give us the short end of the stick.
That our government has a policy, has a traditional policies that are there specifically to hurt black people. And black people, African Americans, whatever you want to call them or don't want to call them. And I have to agree with you that what African Americans, black African Americans, Negroes, black folk, what they want to be called or what they are called, you know, you could almost...
And nobody ever asked us, by the way.
Well...
That's right. Go on, please.
You're non-white. I'm going to take you back to Mississippi. Like I said, in 1952, all of the people that were wondering, you know, whether they're black, white, brown, and no matter what the census says about their coloring, the test in Mississippi was you either white or you're not.
That's right.
And if you're not white, don't you come over here and put your lips around this water cooler.
Water fountain.
That's
yeah.
right. So that's the test for segregation. That's the test for segregation.
Said, don't let the sun set on you here.
Those are your Jim Crow laws. They didn't make those laws for white people. They didn't make them for Mexicans. They made them for non-whites. Listen, this is great. I really appreciate you joining us today. We've got to get out of here. I've got to remind you that Empire Talks Back is brought to you by Covered California, and that there's only 7 days left for the enrollment period. And go find the plan that's best for you by going to coveredca.com. We really appreciate you coming in here. We'll be back next week under 2 circumstances. 1, if the good Lord's willing. 2, if the creek don't rise. Mr. Evans, I'm sure glad to see you all fired up and getting better and everything like that.
I am. And on the insurance, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
That's the God's truth. We appreciate you. Take care. And Mr. Evans, since it's almost time to go, I'm going to tell you it's a pleasure talking to your black face today.
My pleasure to be here.
Talk to you later. God bless you.
As you said, good to be seen and not viewed.
But we won't let nothing hold us back. Gonna put ourselves together. Gonna polish up our act. If you've ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore.
This is 1050 AM KCAA Loma Linda and 106.5 FM Yucaipa.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Prelude to the conference championship games in the NFL. I'm Brian Weber. Coming up in an hour, 3 Eastern, it's the AFC title game. Broncos hosting the Patriots. Peyton Manning knows from experience just how challenging it can be to take on a team featuring a Hall of Fame head coach and quarterback from New England.
They're there for a reason. They're an excellent football team. They're playing, I think, in their 10th AFC championship. They've had excellent continuity, from Coach Belichick to Tom Brady. There's a reason, their head coach and quarterback have been there for as long as they have, because they've both been outstanding.
Then in the NFC title game, it's the Panthers taking on the Cardinals. Trip to the Super Bowl on the line, but for Panther quarterback Cam Newton, the only big difference in this game comes from off the field.
Only thing that's changed is probably the media outlet. We could have this game in the parking lot. We could have this game in the practice field. We could have this at the practice facilities. It's nothing different. Only thing that changes is probably the media.